Peace Instagram, peace YouTube. This is Florboon coming to you today on two different devices. I just wanted to come on and discuss some wonderful things as we see Megan. Many people wanted me to talk about Megan. Am I sideways on you? It looks like I'm sideways. Am I right way or sideways? You might see me sideways. Should I straighten this? I think I'm right way. Hey. Okay, wait, can I do it that way? Do you guys see me sideways? I'm sorry. I'm sidebarring. Am I sideways? It's weird because I don't have the rotation. Yes, I'm sideways. Is there any way I could put you on here? Okay. I have two things on right now. So peace, peace, peace. Now am I right way? Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm hesitating. I wanted to get into the topic of the Naga Serpent temptress actually being the progenitor of all sensuality and sexuality displayed purposefully purposefully on this planet, in this this existence, on this earth plane and beyond. I wanted to get on this as many people wanted me to talk about Meghan Markle's wedding. And am I actually straight now for everyone? Do you see me straight? Instagram? Let me know, Instagram, if you see me right side up, because I don't know if you see me, because I actually have the camera right. It's on my other screen. So let me know if you if you see me properly. Okay, I guess you guys will let me know if you see me straight up and down. Like, what is that, 6 o'clock? That's so old school. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the progenitor of sexuality on this planet. You know, this is one of the topics I don't really shy away from, as I feel quite comfortable discussing what occurs with the dynamics of especially the female aspect showing up on this planet. And as we see Meghan Markle doing the merging of the bloodlines, it is very appropriate to discuss this at this point, as I kind of touched on this previously in another video, discussing, you know, how the Naga Serpent line and the merging of the bloodlines is necessary in order to survive on the planet at this particular time. And as you know, that prediction was made, I made that maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago, what have you. And as you see it coming to fruition. So for all those people who thought I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Oh, wait, do you see me? Okay, you see me properly. I didn't even move the comments. Hey, Fidgy Girl. Fidgy Girl, you shared a video. I got to talk to you, Fidgy Girl. Hey, Nora. What's good? Anyway, so we wanted to talk about Meghan Markle as the wedding just occurred. I didn't get a chance. Now, I can't really talk to you about the wedding because I didn't see it. You know, I listened to your comments. I don't even know what happened really for a wedding. I don't know what she wore. I don't know how she looked. All I know is she's from the Naga Serpent line. Big up to the Anunnaki representing right now, taking over the bloodlines, progenerating our our frequency. And remember, you know, many people will ask, well, you know, she's biracial. Her father was, I think he was a lunar. I'm not sure who he was, but it does not matter. As you know, the matriarch, the mitochondriac of the female, it really solidifies the actual species and the bloodline of any person on this planet. Don't get it twisted, though you may change your name to your husband's name when you get married. That is the insecurity of the patriarchy that kind of instituted that, so that we no longer, they make the, you know, the feminine feel suppressed or feel like she is just a sidebar to the actual, you know, to the actual male, which is actually the opposite. That is why Jewish people, if a child is born from a woman who is Jewish, by, you know, Jewish or Hebrew, that child automatically takes that Hebrew nationality. Okay, so there is a you know, method behind the madness. So Meghan Markle comes from a woman, and if many of you don't know, her mother is actually from the same town as Michelle Obama. Grew up in the same town. Do you think that's chance? Remember, we have political figures showing up And do you think it is relative that two beings, one who gave birth to a child that's now marrying into the insectilian bloodline, it's part insectilian and draconian bloodline, at a time that we're going into home court advantage of the Naga Serpent and the 4 tiers of the Matriarchy, holding home court advantage. Do you think that that's chance that this is happening at this particular time? I say not. As her mother is from facts, she is from that Naga Serpent line. So we talk about the Naga Serpent line and the temptress, and I think there's not enough credit or credence given to those. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking to 2 screens at 2 times. We talk about, I don't think there's as much credit given to the temptress, the nega, the serpent temptress, that actually formulates the propaganda as far as sensuality, as far as sexuality that shows up on the earth plane that many people mimic or project. Whether it be in the industry, the cosmetic industry, whether it's in the music industry, whether it's in the theater industry, all industries really are projecting and are really showing up with the overlay, or rather the underlay, of what the Naga Serpent in her own righteous state of being is, what she denotes, what she gives, what she contributes to society. Now, I had this conversation, I don't even know, did I have this on Instagram? Okay, how come my comments are not showing up on Instagram? Peace, Instagram. I love my Instagram. Listen, Instagram, y'all rock. Can I change your angle? Let me change your angle. You know what? I'm gonna put you back over here because I can't really see you over there. What up? So listen, when you see beings like Rihanna, when you see beings like Beyonce, when you are watching beings like Nicki Minaj in all their sexual drenching overlay, their serpentine pheromonic harmonics showing, enticing, alluring you, that is all Naga Serpent bloodline. They are where all other beings get the criteria for mating and for sexuality that shows up, whether it's on males or females. They are the ones who uphold that to the point where everything on this planet mimics that form of sexuality that shows up. Okay, so I was, working out today. I do my workout 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Fleur runs in the gym because I like to eat. So anyway, so I'm there and I'm working out and I'm listening to Rihanna. So as many of you asked me before, everybody wants to know my opinion on not even Meghan Markle, which I just told you. Her mother is from the bloodline of the Naga Serpent. She is kin to Michelle Obama's family. And as you know, Obama is kin to the Queen's bloodline, which is that bloodline to, that direct draconian insectilian bloodline. It's more insectilian than it is draconian, but there is a merging of the draconian and insectilian at one particular point over 200 years ago when the family started to merge. Okay, that's why they work in sync with one another, previously doing all the diabolical genocidal things, colonizing the planet like insects do, causing havoc and coups everywhere they go. That's why they have a queen. Okay, they have colonies. Okay, that's all insectilian. Don't let David Icke get in your head and make you think that it's more reptilian than it's insectilian. That's more of a insectilian type of quality than it is anything else. The queen comes from just like Kim Kardashian is from they're a coven of witches, old witches, but they're insectilians. And that's why they have that heightened pheromonic quality. They're also to shapeshift. They also have a very unique way of shapeshifting and changing the way that they look based on the desires of men, or the weaknesses rather to men. Big up to the insectilians that are here infecting all you weak men's minds. You should be mindful, Kanye. You didn't just go for one insectilian with Amber Rose. You went for a second one, and you went for like the biggest, the most influential one. Shame on you. Come back home. Come home, Kanye. Free Kanye, everyone. Anyway, I'm sidebarring. So anyway, so we're talking about the temptress, the nega temptress that is now fully coming back online, and Meghan Markle has actually solidified that merging of bloodlines that is necessary at this time, solidifying our home court advantage, which I did denote a while ago. I don't want to pat myself on the shoulder, but again, you know, when everyone was saying, oh, the matriarchy, what are you talking about? The females will never be in home court advantage. What are you talking about? I don't even have to say it anymore. You just had a whole wedding to denote exactly what was being talked to you and told to you via the Andromedans transmission years ago. Okay? So if you don't know now, you know. So the qualities of the nega temptress is one, they're a little different as opposed to the insectilian queens that kind of infect the men's minds. Now, the insectilian queen has a heightened amount of pheromones that is more so endocrinely related, whereas the temptress, nega temptress, has more of a hypnotic quality in order to hold the attention of mostly males. They'll do it to females as well. They'll do it to any beings that they would like to keep a sense of control over. And many of you can denote this if you've ever gone and seen going to India or watch Indian videos of when they're playing music and a snake cobra comes out and it's mesmerized by, you know, the music, and it kind of does this little movement back and forth, but it is gazing on the person playing the music. And as it's gazing, not only is the cobra being hypnotized by the music, but the person in front of the cobra is also being entrained by the snake itself. Okay, snakes have a wonderful uncanny. I don't know if you ever watched the Jungle Book, when you have the little boy who was in the trees and the snake came with like all this hypnotic stuff in his eyes, and he's slithering up. Well, rather, she's slithering up the tree slowly, methodically, calculated, going around and around, looking in his eyes as she's twisting around him, wrapping herself around him to suffocate him, to inevitably have him for a meal. And this is something that we don't give as much credit to the Naga Serpent line, because although they have been the least visual as far as overtly spoken of, they have had just as much influence over the planet as the Draconians and the Insectilians that were actually in home court advantage previously. How do you know this? Because all of the music industry has utilized these serpent queens, these nega influences to pretty much set the trends in all of, you know, the especially feminine music that is really created with the female genre. And I will denote some of the serpent queens that are temptresses that are actually part of the nega bloodline. And that, of course, is Rihanna. And with the nega bloodline, to my knowledge, these are not beings that are replications. The nega serpent line is not usually ones that, depending on the tiers. Now, they have different hierarchies of the queens and the temptresses. They have it's similar to that of the Andromedans, but it's a little different because this is an older bloodline that has actually lived here on this planet. And actually, remember, the original nega are the original ones that actually seeded the Andromedans. The Andromedans are from the same bloodline. The difference is the sect of Andromedans, the Mayans, that left during the last cataclysm, went into Earth and ended up in the Andromedan star system. But they're native to the Earth, and because they're native to the Earth, they are part of the Naga Serpent. So you think it's different, but it's one and the same. It's just splintered off groups that ended up going in different. It's kind of like the Lyrians, the cat groups that kind of splinter and go to different parts of the galaxies and different planets. And even though you'll see splintered groups, they're still the same umbrella. They're still under the same umbrella, which is the Nega. So you have the bloodlines of the Nega. Now you have all of the nega. Now I will give you the bloodline of the nega. the nega bloodlines had seeded themselves. They're from East Africa. Now, when we get mixed up with Africa, is a huge continent. I know that if some of you are the younger demographics, you will realize that Africa has been smaller on maps because they're purposefully trying to screw your head to making you think the continent is smaller than what it is. Africa is huge. It's one of the biggest continents. And though you may look differently on the map today, that is exactly how it's magnanimous. It has many different countries, a plethora of different cultures and really different species that have coexisted there for eons, okay? Especially when all of the land masses were together, we were all one. Okay, but the majority of the Naga Serpent line is coming from East Africa. And East Africa is who actually seeded the Caribbean. Now, people will tell you it's West Africa. That's purposefully telling you misnomers. That is not true. That is why there is a difference in how the beings look. Now, Anunnaki, there's one sect that is not of the Naga line. That is the other sect that is purely Anunnaki. That is another bloodline that has nothing to do with the Orion snake beings that are connected. Remember, what Enki had a mother that was that's where you're getting that serpent bloodline. That's where you get that serpentine bloodline. That's why they demonize the snake in all religious forms. You know, the snake is the one that tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden. You know what I mean? Why did it tempt Eve and not Adam? Because it was Eve. That is her bloodline. They say that to you to ruin the aspect and demonize the being that you're mixed with, that you actually come from, that you actually were seeded from. So let's go back to the actual origin. So the origin of the nega is in East Africa. Now you have East Africa, which has most people get upset with me when I say Yemen. Yemen, remember, all of the Middle East was Africa before colonization, before, I think it was 1940 something. So before that, that was all Africa. So forgive me if I still call parts of the Middle East Africa. So Sudan is the East Africa, Yemen is East Africa, Ethiopia is East Africa. Those are also the same beings that you see on the walls in ancient Kemet. That is a fact. So when you look in ancient Kemet and you take an average Ethiopian woman or male or a woman from parts of Sudan, and you take her, any person walking, you can take their phenotype, their physical look, and you can put it straight on the wall and look, and it is almost a replica of those same beings. Now you take those beings and you go into the Caribbean. And the lies that they've been telling, that again, the beings in the, big up to Empress Sheba, who I am aligned with. That is who I answer to. That is who I am aligned with. She is part of the Darfur of the East Africans that are actually part of the original Nega. She holds her title. She is Queen Sheba III, Empress Sheba III, and she to this day holds her title, reigns still, and she is the progenitor of many of us who are coexisting right now. And she was hidden in the Caribbean and Trinidad. Now, if you don't know the story of Empress Sheba, you should really, it would be fascinating, and you would be upset and really disturbed that you've not been shared her story, who she is to you, and what she means to us as the divine feminine on this planet. So we have her, who is seated in the Caribbean, and many of the East Africans, which are actually Naga Serpent bloodline, were seated purposefully along with the Andromedans, same beings, different time frame, okay, in the Caribbean. That is why they look and liken to their kin that are in East Africa. Now that bloodline, if you know the Nega bloodline, you will also realize, okay, you say Flurbone, you've gone too far, it's a lie, you can't prove it, it's okay. So we know that they put certain bloodlines in front of the screen, right? We know that the propaganda, we know that the entertainment business is key. They make a personal point to place certain bloodlines in propaganda and very specific positions, important positions of entertainment, of governmental, governmental positions. They have these particular bloodlines that they purposefully do and place in front of everyone because they have an agenda. They have a reason for it. Now, if I was not telling the truth, why is every entertainment woman connected to that nega, that East African woman? Why are each of the hip hop women that you see that get crumbs from the industry? Remember, they weren't in home court advantage. We are in home court advantage now. Why is every woman of entertainment connected to either the Creoles, which is the Caribbean? If you don't know, the Creoles are all seeded from Haiti. Learn your history and you will find out that the women in Haiti and some men were shipped over to Louisiana, and that is where you get all of these older bloodlines of the Creole. But they are Caribbean women. Look at all of the hip hop artists that you see today, including Queen Latifah. You get, oh gosh, I always get this. Baby on the brain. Little Kim, Foxy Brown, Cardi B, Trina. What's the other one? What's her name? Foxy Brown. Money Love is Caribbean too. The list go on and on. J-Lo. J-Lo's another part of, remember, she doesn't have as much of the nega, but she has traces and bits of it. Remember, because the Andromedans also seeded after the fact that the nega, they are from the original nega, but they seeded themselves in the Caribbean and in Central and South America. So because of that, you have remnants of that all showing up in Latin America. So they all have parts and bits and pieces of that nega bloodline. Okay, so you have all of these Caribbean hip hop women showing up, and nobody notices why all these women are Caribbean. That is a bloodline that they are projecting. That is why Michelle Obama comes from a specific town, because she is of the bloodline of Markle, who is also from the same town. And if you go back to them, there's a connection to East Africa. Okay, so J-Lo does look like. Who else is it? Amara La Negra. Thank you, Jay Flower. Amara La Negra. Michelle is a man. Project Frequency. Michelle is a man. Everybody's saying that. Remember, we got to be careful in labeling people as sexist, because if we realize that a lot of the original beings here were androgynous, we got to be careful when we start labeling some of these beings as men. The R&B singers, I wouldn't say that. I would say the hip hop sect is mostly Caribbean women and men, but mostly Caribbean women. They seeded it because they knew at a time when we go through the shift of home court advantage, that there would be a time that these women would be online. But what they're purposefully doing is they made sure they got some of the lowest parts of the bloodline. And I don't want to, okay, maybe I'm judging. Okay, so Cardi B to me is like the bottom feeding version of that bloodline. They needed her bloodline because remember, she has the bloodline of the Trinidad. Remember, her mother's Trinidadian and her father is Dominicano. Okay, and Dominicano and Haitian are one and the same. I know people don't like hearing that, but it is a fact. It was La Hispaniola. Those are cousins. Okay, there's a closer cousins than most of us are to them. So that is the same bloodline. Okay. Stronger bloodline, less male, female, androgynous shows up. Yes, androgynous, the original zygote is androgynous. She's a female that is able to replicate herself through the process of parthenogenesis. I don't think we have to have this conversation anymore because many of you know this planet was a matriarchy. This planet only had females until inception. When the inception happened, they splintered us and then they started to create males. So when the matriarchy came offline, remember, this is a flip mode. This is the inversion of what we existed in. The males, that's why patriarchy had home court advantage. Right now, we're going back into the matriarchy. And now, as we're going back into matriarchy, the old bloodlines, the original bloodlines that were here are taking home court advantage. Now, on Patreon, I'm going to go on. I was supposed to do it the other night. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to talk about the 4 bloodlines of the matriarchy that are online. Now, what's interesting is that, you know, J-Hove, whatever he calls himself, the time looper, the time jumper, Jay-Z, whatever you want to call him in this in this line of existence. I don't know what they called him in his whatever timeline he came from, but he did do a video, which I got a little upset about because I think it's disgusting that he feels like he should tell our story, but it was really a good indication. It was really a good testament of what we represent. So if you look, if you haven't seen, it's called Family Feud. The video is really, it talks about the bloodlines of the actual matriarchy and who are part of them. It shows you. And remember, you know, we have a representative of the nega overtly and the Andromedans. But remember, it's the same bloodline. Remember, the Andromedans are the Mayans that existed here. They existed here as the indigenous Mayan women, but they were from the original nega bloodline. They were seeded. That's why they created the temples and the Mayan pyramids are likened to that in ancient Kemet. They're the same people. That's why they had the same blueprint to build the same things, because they were influenced by the same ETs that they were seeded by. Okay, and that was all matriarchy. There were no patriarchs at that time. Patriarchy came later when the fall of the divine came. And that came due to our own selfishness, our lack of empathy for males, and also the splintering when other beings came in, were finagling with our genetics and you know, downgrading our gene pools to also create another creature, which we call the beautiful male today. I appreciate the males. Big up to our sun stars. You always think I'm talking bad about you, but I'm really not. We have fun with you. So the Olmecs, when we talk about the Olmecs, we have to discuss the Martians. Now, that's a whole nother conversation. It's kind of linked to this, but it's kind of not. The Olmecs are the Martians. Now, the Martians have a more male-based society. Even though they're females, there's a matriarchy that exists on Mars, but there's a lot more males there. This is years ago. I know one Martian, personally. Big up to the Martian I know. You all know him, too. And we call the Martians the Moors, right? From Lemuria. Okay, they have a similar look too. And I know one Martian here, but I actually met two other Martians. So I know three, but I met two other Martians in my travels. So, and it was kind of odd because they were just sitting chilling somewhere on Mars. But they are Martians. Okay, so Martians is something connected to the Olmecs, and that was also where I discussed. They were covering these Olmec heads underneath this tunnel. Remember, I told you it was on a show that I listened, that one of the last shows that Dr. Delbert Blair, big up to Dr. Delbert Blair, did, discussing, you know, this gentleman who was a truck driver. He went on the ground. He was a brown man. He didn't know he wasn't supposed to be there. And he came upon these big heads that these underground tunnels, these people were covering with cement, concrete cement, covering them, smothering them with cement to hide them. So, and this was in North America, I think in Virginia, roughly there. So I think in that area. So when we get into the Olmecs, I think I kind of touched on the Olmecs a little bit, but I can probably get more into that because then we have to touch on things like Easter Island, inner earth beings, the treaties that are occurring between the different beings on inner earth. Now as Pele is activating, the portals are being opened and Lemuria is coming back online. That's what I've gotten from the Andromedans. I'm kind of excited about that because that's my old playground. That's where one of the worlds that I actually came from in a very overt way, a very public way. Lemuria is the place that I remember the most. Some people have memories of ancient Kemet, that's when they had, you know, a big lifetime where they had expressed themselves maybe more purposefully, but I am from Lemuria and also from Suma. Okay, so I'm sidebarring. So anyway, you know, Pele is actually activating a portal. I want to say a Stargate because it's not really a Stargate, it's a portal. And the portal is opening up. Remember, as above, so below. Remember, whatever's going on in inner earth is actually causing a little bit of our pole shifting to happen in a way. Because remember, the pole shifting affects the inner earth beings and their geography as well as ours. So Lemuria is supposed to come back online, and part of Pele erupting. There's about 3 more volcanoes that will actually change the total ley line of the surface of the planet. And the last one I gave you a hint about, that's the one when we know that the pole shift's about to happen. That last volcano eruption is our key. It is our it is our signal that the pole shift will happen anywhere from 3 days after that, to my knowledge. Okay. It's an exciting time. Pele activating one of the portals is important because a lot of the beings that coexisted here are coming back. That's why you notice a lot of mommies pregnant. Big up to all the pregnant mommies right now. Bringing back the ancients online. So fire in the yard. So I have to go back to the nega temptress because right now it is her job to mate and also to perpetrate. Oh, I used the wrong word, to propagate her bloodline and to basically take back all that was taken from our lineage. So now you will see like Markle and other melanin dominant beings starting to go into bloodlines, including Venus. I think Venus had a baby by another a tall white, didn't she? Who did Venus have a baby with? Was it Venus? Or was it no, Serena? Didn't Serena? Serena had it with one of the tall white alien beings, right? Who does Serena have the baby with? That I believe she also did the merging of the bloodlines as well. Because remember, it is your womb that matters. Men are wonderful. They do wonderful things. Their wands can make us feel so magical. But it is our womb, our stargate between our legs. We have the opening to open up other galaxies and let beings come in from all forms of life and existence. And the man started Reddit. Oh, he did? Okay, I know he was connected to a particular bloodline. Okay, she also did the merging of a bloodline. Wombs matter. Remember, Markle, though her father was something else, her mother's womb mattered. Who she was is what kind of being she is creating. Alexis Onaya. Onaya? Is it Onaya? Alexis Onaya? Is that his name? Yes. And, I have to talk about, isn't Prince Harry's mother Diane? Remember, she had service to others, frequency in her blood. Yes, she did. Diana was a very angelic being. She actually, I personally think that she was purposefully meant to create those boys to hold a higher frequency so that he could later mate with one of the nega line. To be honest, they purposefully mate just like people who breed dogs and horses. I hate to say it, but as someone who's been in the gene pool world and in the world of heredity and seeing it under a microscope, you see how you can create types of dispositions in people and animals and plants, even plants, because I do it with my plants, types of dispositions that kind of go on to the children. So the children have those general dispositions. So, Prince Harry seems like, he has from what I've heard, because I don't know him personally, but what I've heard, Prince Harry has one of the nicest, most calm, most loving, most sharing, most kindest disposition out of all of the insectilian bloodline. And I personally think it's because wombs matter. His mom was such a wonderful, giving, loving soul, and she actually created a young man who held that. Now, again, you can't mate with hostile bloodlines unless you have that hostility in your own bloodline. But he's able to mate with Markle, who comes from a particular bloodline that's connected to the nega. Her mother is nega, and she has the Andromedan connection as well. So when we talk about that, now you're going to start to see more of this show up. We saw it again. There was another African marriage with another lunar from another royal bloodline marrying into another African family. The Africano diaspora is going to be purposefully merged because, like I've said before, the pole shift, the energies of the third sun coming online will increase the magnetic energy. There will be no being that can live on the surface. Now listen to me. I said the surface. There are beings living on the inner earth or in hidden cities just beneath the earth. But on the surface of the earth, you're going to have a strong amount, you're going to have a strong amount of melanin to be able to survive with all that energy. And that's why they're doing all this this geoengineering of weather to keep it cooler. Because if you notice, there'll be times when you're living in a cooler area and all of a sudden it'll get hot, like 60, 70 degrees out of the blue. And you think that's the odd weather. And then all of a sudden they'll have a cold for the rest of the month. But really what it is that the warm weather is really the natural weather. This whole planet used to be tropical. That is why you had a host of type of reptilian type of animals and beings living on this planet cohesively. The majority of the people on the surface of the planet were all highly melanated because of the third sun, the higher magnetic field that was always coming on. Remember, a lot of people of color eat that. They eat that. Their endocrine systems eat that. Okay. And melanin interacts with the sun. It gets information, it actually feeds the body, and it doesn't require, that's why you see a lot of melanin dominant women get very chunky when they eat food. They don't require to eat food as much. They can live on nothing, just water and sunlight, and they would be cohesive. That's how our ancestors existed. If anything, they were fruitarians. They weren't vegetarians, they were fruitarians. If they ate from the fruit of the trees, but they did not necessarily have to outsource to get their nutrition. The sun, the high amount of magnetic energy fed their cells. And actually, we went through the process of photosynthesis in order to transmute that sunlight energy into food as we slept. Okay, so actually that was more of the case. So that's why you're going to start to see everyone's seeing all these beings merging. It's unity consciousness. It's going back into one. Watch the dark crystal. Again, you'll start to see all the beings merging into one. And I just wanted to let you know, for you sun stars that are going to have to merge with us, you're going to have to merge with us, and just let it happen. I'm serious. Let it happen, because we have home court advantage. So you can either make it easy or you can make it hard on yourselves. I suggest you make it easier, because at the end of the day, the females on this planet will be calling all the shots of all that's occurring. That's why you're seeing all the position. What is that? Oh, I get it. You're seeing all the positions being replaced by women. And, sea stars, I want you to make sure that you uphold yourself with some integrity. Even though we have home court advantage, one of the reasons why we fell is because we were selfish. We were highly, non-empathetic. We didn't have the ability to withhold, to see and to engage with males in a way that was purposeful and disallow for. I said, just let it happen. Disallow for, dominating males. That's where you get this whole Amazonian, this negative kind of connotation towards Amazonian women being very aggressive and strong. The women who existed, the androgynous women, and they were women. When I say, even though they were androgynous, the only way they were androgynous, they didn't have penises. They had both sex organs inside of them, but they looked female. They just looked like strong, tall, big females. Okay. We see some women who kind of like, Serena kind of looks like that androgynous kind of form, just very strong women, tall, virile, but still soft. Those were the type of women that propagated themselves and were able to replicate themselves through parthenogenesis and create other children, basically clones of themselves. That's why people get upset about clones. Cloning is not new, family. They're just the diabolical ones are utilizing it in a negative low field way. The original zygote on this planet, which was a divine female, and I can't say she was divine, but the female on this planet was able to replicate herself, and she cloned herself. Okay, kind of like the reptiles do when you cut a piece off of, they can kind of replicate them. There's certain animals that can replicate themselves, grow a whole new limb, do things like that. That was part of what we were in our original healthy state of being. And also, I'm noticing that with the energies changing with Pele last night, big up to the Cypher crew, because last night I was getting energetic waves coming through. We were getting wet energetic waves coming through, and I was like, I've got to be feeling something. It was like surges coming through, and remember, we're getting all these different energies coming. The pole shift is full on too. If you don't know, there's cracks showing up all over in different countries. I think Texas had some cracks show up in the middle of the road, so be mindful that a lot of the the Yanni Laurel. Oh, I'll talk about that in a minute. Yes. Okay, I'll talk about that in just 1 minute. Pole shift is, well, pole shift is the end of this. Oh, you think it's the end of this year? I personally think the pole shift won't be fully in for another 7 years. Okay, I think this is my prediction. I think that North Korea is gonna bomb the crap out of New York City. That's what I think. You know, whether it's true or not, I don't know. Hopefully not, because obviously I'm from New York and I know not a lot of people in New York. But from my intel, and my intel is usually correct, North Korea is about to show President Obama, President Trump, that he's not really fazed by his threats. So that's just my personal thought. I hope it doesn't happen, but from what my intel and from what I'm feeling, I just see that kind of coming in a miss. I think personally, there's going to be a lot of cataclysms, some engineered by the governmental systems and the people, the dark cabal, and some natural from Earth kind of birthing herself into a new realm of existence. You know, she's going through a process of clearing and cleansing, and she's going to permeate into the other dimensions. Now, if we permeate with her and we raise our vibration by speeding up our frequency, we too will permeate with the new Earth, and we'll end up being jungle chicks, like I intend to be, living in the jungle, living cohesively, being fruitarians, having limited clothing, eating mangoes naked and happy. Oh, wait, is he a Mason? Project Frequency said Kim Jong is a Mason. You serious? Now, I didn't know that. Yeah, I really didn't know that. Oh, Fleur, what is Olmec? I see people. Olmecs are the original beings. You see Olmec heads like in East Asia. Olmecs are the beings that existed here. You always see remnants of the Olmecs with those big heads, these very wide nose, big faced beings, Africano statues that are all over. Now, they're not in just one place. What's interesting, they're in Mexico. Yeah, they're in Mexico. They're in the Yucatan. They're in East Asia. They're in the Middle East. They're in North America. They're everywhere. That's what they were covering up the heads in and the Mayan culture. Hold on. I'm sorry. The Mayan culture actually got along well with the Martians. The Martians, the remnants of the Moors got along with most people. Now, some of the Moors, the sect of the Moors, you know, they, just like every being that has coexisted here with us, they all have agendas. So, you know, the Moors actually knew what was coming to the Americas, and they kind of played a part in it. I know the Moors don't like when I state that, because they always like to claim sovereignty over the United States of America and yada, yada, yada. But the Moors have a lot to do with the enslavement of the indigenous people and sending the colonizers over in this neck of the woods, knowing that there would be this type of, they had a foresight of what was going to happen. So, you know, I know that people don't like when I say that, especially the Moors, but not many people are actually Moors. They are more groupies. I told you, I personally know there's not that many genetic Moors, because Moors are Mers, which are Martians, which are connected to Lemuria. Okay, there's not many of them. There's only a few, and they sold. Remember, when Columbus came, he didn't know where he was. Columbus came over the waterway. He saw a Moor with the telescope looking up at the sky. He didn't know, like, the Moors had all the technology. He didn't know. The Moors sent them over to the Americas, knowing that there was a pristine culture of indigenous people here who had no idea of what the European sect would come over and bring. Remember, in Europe and Eurasia, they had weaponry, they had formulated, you know, they were doing wars and so on. The native indigenous they didn't work in that way. They worked more holistically, even when they had issues with each other. The way that they battled or settled things was a little more humane, a little less rough, so to speak. Okay, so you know, Columbus came over, and not only did he come over with ships and with agendas of his own, and the Moors were the ones who led him there. You know, more, like I said, more so like when you say this, they pointed them in that direction. They didn't have to do that. They could have just let them drown in the ocean and point them out to the sharks. You know, they could have just said, go there, and they would have got lost and never made it to the Americas. That would have been, that's probably a different timeline. That's why some of us don't remember slavery, because the different timeline is where when the Moors didn't even direct them in this direction and Columbus never made it here. So there's a different world that exists based on that timeline. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure we'll find out. But, you know, when they came here, you know, they came with viruses and diseases that the natives couldn't even fight off. And distilled sugar, which was obviously is considered like a narcotic to the endocrine system of an indigenous, you know, because that's something that they had a sensitivity to. It's an allergy to alcohol, which is distilled sugar. And it causes euphoria. But it's an allergy, and that's why it becomes an addiction. So, you know, it was horrific. So remember, we're going back to 0 point. Everything has to be, every debt has to be paid. So patriarchy is paying right now. That's why we need to mind our business. That's when you see all these beings, you know, all these men spots being blown, mind your business. It's not ours. Just keep it moving, you know, and also stay away from some of the females that are connected to the patriarchy. You have some of these diabolical feminine women that look like girls. They talk like women. They even look like women, but they are part of the patriarchy. They're abusive to other women. They're aggressive. They're highly narcissistic and jealous. They abuse, you know, they have a lack of self-love, and they abuse other women. They tend to be very judgmental, very hostile. Stay away from these these patriarchal, diabolical females, because they're going down with the ship with the patriarchy that did harm. Now, our divine fit males are fine because they have the cushion of the divine females. We recognize them. We have guarded them. We have shielded our divine males. We have. You see them, they resonate with you. Those are the good fathers in your community, the good uncles, the grandfathers, the elders that show up. These are the men that are really making changes, shifts, you know, shakes and shifts in the community. These are the men that are wonderful pillars of change and of doing phenomenal, healthy things and really stimulating change wherever they are. I mean, we have a lot of divine males. They're showing up. I mean, not to the degree of all the diabolical patriarchy, but I mean, we do have a good schlep of them, and I know that they're being protected by us. So, you know, like I said, when you see these diabolical patriarchy and they're female stunt women, keep it moving and try not to engage, because as soon as you do, they try to attack you. You know what you'll see a lot of times is a projection of these patriarchal females. They like to project, you know, their whatever idiosyncrasies they're suffering from and put it on you. So make sure you're not in the way of their venom. They're hostile, and that's usually how you tell. You know, these are women that are just hostile. They're just miserable, and they're miserable based on the fact that they're sitting in a cohesion with males that do diabolical things to other females. Okay, so just be mindful. Yeah, they're female stunt women. Yeah, you gotta watch them. I've seen them. They're wild. So, you know, like I said, you know, duck and move. Anyway, so I'm gone off. I always go off on tangents. I have moments where I actually stay on topic sometimes. So all I was saying is that this is a time where I want you to recognize the nega line and also own your sexuality and your sensuality. This is a time that purposeful mating is necessary in order to snuff out all of those unnecessary gene pools that are here causing havoc. We like I said, there will be males that are receptive to it, and they will have to tolerate what is necessary in order to clean up the planet. You know, we as the divine feminine on this planet are making a point to make sure that we are the great stewards of Mother Earth. We have to clean up all the mess that the dirty patriarchy have done in destroying, deforesting our trees, displacing a lot of our animal and wildlife. We have to clean up a lot of this. So because of that, we have to create children that are purposefully elders, older, more ancient ancestors that are coming here to allow for those higher frequencies so that we can do this a little more effortlessly. And in doing so, we have to mate with partners that are sitting well in the in that divine field, you know. So purposeful mating creates purposeful children and will create a healthier homeostasis for Mother Tiamat in the future. So I always say happy mating. And, you know, for our males, our sun stars, you know, the Naga Serpent temptress is here and available. And I just will let you know that that is why you're seeing a heightened amount of sexuality. And we want to make sure that we don't totally snuff out sexuality and make and demonize it, because part of being able to uphold a healthy sense of self-esteem and so on is kind of going back into that natural, healthy aspect of the divine feminine. You know, she loved herself. She didn't require makeup. She didn't have to make up herself. In her natural form, she exuded sensuality and sexuality, but not in a perversity. She was a divine mother. She feeds and nurtures her children and others alike. She sits in the world as an effortless role model to all who come in her field. Okay, she is a steward to cultivating the earth, growing agriculture. She is balanced when she is able to pull in and to also field in the ancestors through her and live and project herself in a way that illuminates her environment, you know, miles around. So, you know, we have to get back to that part. And in order to do so, we have to gain our self-respect and self-esteem back. So, you know, remember, you need nothing outside of yourself but you, and you loving yourself will project that in the world, and everything outside of yourself will resonate with that and will show that right back to you. And start to honor other sea stars, you know, start to say, tell them how beautiful they are, tell them how special they are. You know, when I go out, I don't have a problem telling another beautiful woman, you look so lovely today. I love your colors. Oh my gosh, you look wonderful, because that's something that is not really, we don't do that anymore. We don't honor our sisters anymore. We have to do more of that. We have to see them and illuminate their, and also, you know, show them that we are friend and not foe. So in order to do so, we have to show appreciation for them. And that will, again, that will reflect back to us. Okay. You know, thank you, Fidgy Girl. I'm feeling very loving today. You know what I'm saying? And I, you know, like I said, I'm grateful to my Matrix mom. I tell you all the time, who I am comes from really simple island people. My mother was a steward. She was a facilitator in a school, Mount Vernon school, for as long as I've been living. And everything she did and everything she was, I'm exuding. And I'm grateful to her. Now, is she part of our world in this way, like the language we use, even talking about frequency? No, but she showed up in a very holistic way that allowed her to give birth to a daughter who can appreciate other women. My mother had girlfriends. You know, she always was a woman's woman. You know, her students always talk to her. Even they're like, her students are like, I don't know, older now, and they still come up to her, even though my mom is little, and they still tell her how wonderful, how she made them feel special. I'm grateful to have come from a womb, from a stargate that had that kind of a luminous vibration, because it shows up in who I am today. And hopefully I can do that for my own offspring. Hopefully I can uphold myself as a role model enough so that they show up in the world masterfully and beautiful, and they are able to perpetrate that and perpetuate that with their own offspring, which I support holistically. So I say you do the same. You know, instead of hurting other females, you know, there's a host of females that go around hurting other females, whether it's sleeping with their men, talking dirty about them, making up lies, doing venomous things, or just being haters. Rather than doing that you put so much effort and hate, why don't you do something that's positive for other females? Instead of hating on other females, why don't you go and donate your time at one of the shelters where women are, you know, running away from homes where they've been abused, and they need to see a woman that's doing well, that's living astutely, that's survived. Even sometimes us who survived abuse, they need to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So maybe a day a week, once a month, you donate your time. So stop talking about people, stop talking about it, and be about it. Why don't you volunteer your time walking dogs at shelters so that they don't have to euthanize them because they don't have enough help or money? So why don't you do that? So instead of, you know, beefing, why don't you do something and be proactive instead of having problems with other women? I mean, we have to show up in the world more masterfully if we want the world to show up masterfully for us. Be the change you want to see in the world. And that is the simplest statement that you can ever say, but is the most wonderful, masterful type of a luminous, frequency that you can actually project. So, love your sisters. Tell them you're beautiful and wonderful. You see your mother who's overwhelmed. Talk to her. Give a mother respite today. Come on, let's just show up beautifully. The Naga Serpent temptress is online, and also be masterful mates with your lovers, with your mates. Sea stars, start to progenerate that love, because you have home court advantage. If you have healthy self-esteem, there's no reason to depreciate him or feel any way about him. You can kind of just exude that sensuality and that sexuality and allow that to kind of field your world. Remember, men are our muses. We muse men. Oh, I heard something slam. I think that's my door. I think I have to be quiet when I do that. Anyway, did you hear that? My door is locked and my maid is not here yet. Anyway, I probably hear it. Anyway, I think I talked enough. Anyway, so I'm just saying, I was gonna get a little naughty and saucy in my talk, so maybe it was a way to kind of pull back a little bit because I'm feeling a little saucy today. You heard that? Anyway, family, I thought I probably go into all kinds of sidebar, but just so I'm saying, the Naga Serpent temptress, her energy is already coexisting. It's always been here. Now it's going to be illuminated even more. Accept it, own it, and then take that and allow it to field the energies around us so that we can make, everything kind of represent what we want as opposed to what we don't want. All right. So I love you. I hope it was okay. I'm usually more interactive, but I'm making a video on YouTube and I'm talking to my wonderful Instagram family. All right. So do your thing. Big up another sea star today. It's all love. Sisterhood is beautiful, and we don't need to demonize it or pervert it. A lot of times, it's so interesting that they perverted our sisterhood to make it seem like for us to love another woman, we had to be sexually involved with her. That's not true. Like I said, I love sisterhood. I love my sea stars. I love girlfriends. I love having connections with women. It makes me feel sane a lot of times in the insane world, and it fills me with it makes me feel like I'm purposeful, and that relationship I have with females drives me to do better, to be better, to show up better. So I think we have to stop perverting this love. I've loved my sisters from when I was little. I saw my mother do it. So don't let anyone make you feel like you're doing something unnatural or unhealthy because you love another sea star, or you're representing the female component in a very holistic way, which would be without bars. Our tribes used to sit, or the sisters sit together all the time. They sleep together, not sexually, but they would sleep side by side. That's very natural. Don't let our environment that's sick and perverted, all these perverted patriarchy, make everything into sexuality, and it has nothing to do with that. That's how they see us. That's not how we should see each other. Okay, so don't let them pervert our girlfriends. At the end of the day, whenever we have problems with our males, who should we go to? We go to our girlfriends. Okay, we go to our sea stars. We go for that comfort, and they always make us feel better. They always make us feel like we're loved or we're worthy. So don't let anyone demonize that or dirty it up because if that's how they feel, or maybe that's how perverted they are. That has nothing to do with you. All right, family. I'm out. I love you, and we will talk later. I think I have somebody at the door. I love you. Mwah. Peace. If I can end it. Peace.